So I'm going to be talking about content curation and blended learning. Does anyone know what content curation means, just by show of hand? All right. Okay, good. So, yeah, I'm going to go through what content curation means. I'm also going to go through Randstad. I'm sure you're all familiar with who Randstad is in the world. Okay, well, we help them just a little bit on that blended learning approach, and I'll also be talking about what myskillcamp does today and why we're here. So 8 years ago, when I started the company, that's a long time ago, I was working as a consultant, and I was so disappointed to see my courses not being followed by the learners. I would be spending 6 months working on a project for an engagement rate of 16%. What is that? So 16% of 10,000 people, it's still okay, but 16% of 100 persons, it's only 16%. So anyway, my clients seemed happy, but I wasn't, because the engagement was so low. So anyway, I'll park that and I'll explain you what I did, but that learning culture to be always on, I'm really sure that learning data can help you solve this. So we started 2014, we're 87 today, and we are active in France, Benelux, and obviously the UK for a bit more than a year now. So let me take you through learning curation or content curation. Who has already spent more than 20 minutes searching for a movie on Netflix or for your kids on Disney? Well, it's easier on Disney, definitely, but who has spent more than 20 minutes? Okay, nice. Well, the first learning is that it takes time to find good resources, and sometimes we do lose a lot of time. So basically, content curation, as we will see it in a moment, is a great way to spread the word and to make your workforce active in that search on the web, because you alone will be spending too much time, whereas if everyone spends a bit of time within your organization, you're going to be able to find resources much faster. I've already asked that question, so we're just going to skip it. So I'm sure every day you go on the web, I'm sure every day you Google, I'm sure every day you read something, I'm sure every day you learn something, or we should be learning something every day. And yet the workforce leaves those resources on the web. Do you guys know Pinterest, or do you remember Pinterest, shall I say? Right, that was really cool, because that was content curation. Well, imagine you could do the same within any learning platform. You could just pin it, share it. That's really called peer-to-peer learning. And I'm sure in your organization you have loads and loads of experts that are learning every day and not really sharing what they're finding on the web. So curation is the activity of collecting, putting together, and sharing the most interesting content. Again, you can do content curation, but you need some sort of validation. So experts are more than welcome within organization, and you can identify them. And that's exactly what we did with Randstad. They had some blended learning path to build. They had a skill set, skills framework, and we identified within the 100 and I don't know how many thousand people they had in the organization who were the most suited to actually help us validate the quality of the resources we would find. So how does curation basically serves the learning landscape? Well, first of all, learners, they're used to learning in a linear way, whereas learning should be more a menu, Because at the end of the day, if the learners finish a learning path, they've taken all the resources, they still haven't transferred their knowledge. So whether they learn they take 2 resources or they take 5, it's the same result. They still haven't shown you that they retained what they learned online. But having a menu opens up possibilities. So selecting the content like a menu was important for Randstad, and we suggested them because they didn't want to have that linear approach. They wanted to give the responsibility back to the workforce. Only pay for what you need. Well, that's a big topic. We all know that obviously if we buy off-the-shelf libraries today and the engagement rate is 16 or 20%, you're still paying 80% too much. So getting to a point where you only pay for what you need was also important because, yeah, if you subscribe for 100,000 users but only 10% use it, that's quite difficult. And then improving the learner engagement. We can find great free content on the web, again, and we can mix that with paid content. As learners are already used to learning on their own, where you don't find something, let's take a developer. If they are stuck at something, they're not going to go on an e-learning platform and take a course. They're just going to Google it, go in a, I don't know, like a forum, or they're going to go on YouTube and find it. So learners, they don't mind having free content. Free doesn't mean poor quality, but you need to make sure that the free is high quality. Let's take TEDx, for example. It's great quality, and yet it's free for some part. Then we gave them a pedagogical approach. That was really important as well because, okay, you buy content, you find content, but then once you are in the learning path, what's the approach that we can easily replicate and that will engage the workforce? So at myskillcamp, we have a learning science team, 5 people, all former L&D managers, pedagogical experts, consultants. And we came up with this. If we want to engage the workforce, we first need to inspire them. I mean, let's not just start with taking a course, a definition, a quiz. Let's inspire them. Let's tell them, okay, why are you here? The why is super important to answer and to know when you're going to spend time, following a training. Then explaining the topics. What's this for? But also being able to link the topics to their daily job. If they can make the link, then they will also understand why this is important for them. Then they should take, of course, learning activities, various learning activities. We talked today about bite-sized learning. We don't have time to sit down in front of our computer for 16 hours and then having the little certificate. It might work, but not for everybody. And here the audience wasn't just that kind. So we had to create content or find content that were really bite-sized and a variety of activities. Okay, great. I know the theory, but I still don't know how to do it. Okay, well, now let's do the doing. So the doing was through a mobile app that we have at myskillcamp, we help them transfer that knowledge. And it was part of the learning journey, the blended learning journey. At the end, okay, you theoretically know, but no one in the organization can make a check mark saying, okay, the workforce who took that learning path actually have validated or have transferred the knowledge they learned. So linking the theory to the doing is important for any individual on earth. And of course, curiosity is part of, I would say, the skills every modern day learner should have. Going deep diving, going a bit further, identifying people who want to go yet further was also important for Randstad to identify people who want to contribute more. Well, I'm not going to say identify talents, but that's part of their talent management, I would say, process. So, yeah. And that journey of inspiring, explaining, learning through bite-sized activities, being able to do that knowledge transfer and bridge the gap, and then going a bit further was our pedagogical approach, and I'm not gonna lie, was a little success. So the way we integrated, and the reason why we integrated blended learning within the learning path. So blended learning created, obviously, synchronous and asynchronous timing. Because if everything is asynchronous, it can be, but you lose that social interaction, you know, that peer-to-peer interaction where you can ask a question. And it was even part of the journey where when we give the theory, we asked learners to prepare a little something for the face-to-face. Well, it was COVID, so no face-to-face, but for the virtual session, and that was important. Something I didn't mention on the slide, but I think is worth it, is to increase the satisfaction rate of the live sessions that we did. We realized that having a linear approach in the learning path would force every learners to attend the same live event. Issue is, not every learners would have the same skills level attending the event. Some would have a lower one, some would have a middle one, some would have a higher one. So some people would, well, 2 people out of 3 basically would not be listening because it's either too hard or too easy. So we decided to split the sessions into 3 skills level so that we could increase the engagement, but also the satisfaction and some motivation to continue the journey. That was also really well appreciated by the workforce. Yeah, increasing engagement because you have those moments, asynchronous, synchronous. Yeah, not gonna, you know, deep dive further. I think it self-explains. So now, how we help them. So, you know, you might know Randstad, but you might not know Randstad RiseSmart. So they are, yeah, a coaching. What they do basically coaching through organizations, so through their clients. Their clients were asking for, okay, but we want to, because of COVID, we need more. We can't have you face-to-face, so you need to digitalize your training journeys. But there needs to have some one-on-one coaching sessions in the middle. But Randstad's ambition, because they're working with large organizations, they needed to be able to measure the impact. Having an engagement rate of 19% was a no-go to Randstad. No. If the first session had an engagement rate lower than X%, you know, we would have stopped the project. So we also had to make sure that they could show their clients the impact. And how did we do that? Well, you can't show the impact just by reporting some training hours. It's not because you say, this manager has done 10 hours of leadership course that he's a better leader. That doesn't mean anything. So what we did, and I'll show you with myskillcamp solution, is we reported the evolution of the skill gap on the theory part, well, theoretical part, and then on the doing part. So basically on that knowledge transfer with the help of the managers. So the managers within their client's organization were involved in the whole learning journey. And again, what I'm saying today, it's not typical. It takes a lot of money, lots of resources, etc. I'm just, you know, giving you insights to, you know, how you could bring a better learning experience to your workforce. So they had 3 challenges. The first one is, yeah, learning had to be everywhere, and Randstad RiseSmart was just doing coaching. Save time. They didn't have 40 people to build courses, hence why we worked on content curation and off-the-shelf courses with a business model that suited them, because they didn't want to pay loads and loads of libraries for not using it. So we curated those libraries for them. So we ended up having a pricing per user, which was great. And then as they didn't have the expertise, they needed help. And so our learning science team helped them build that pedagogical approach. So now taking you in the journey and what we did. Well, first we had to identify the skills, defining the pedagogical approach, and also the learning objectives. So per learning path, what should learners be able to achieve? What should they be able to do once they have followed this? Because remember, Randstad, RiseSmart, they have customers, they want to pay for a service, so we had to show and deliver the value. So the learning expertise that we provided was around, yeah, curation. We helped them find experts within the organization, pedagogical guidance, skills integration, and skills matching. So Randstad RiseSmart had a tool that did coaching. So the skills learner were developing within the platform had to match or had to basically sync with the matching of the coach that they would receive later. So based on the skills assessment the learners would take, if they were, I don't know, if they had to develop their skills in give and get feedback, then we had to be able to match them with a coach that could provide them with such coaching, engagement, and recommendation as well on our providers. So those are the content providers they ended up with. So the free content, we had some TED Talks, YouTube, blog articles, podcasts, CatCat. If you don't know what that is, have a look. It's really nice. Pinterest, we talked about it, but it's still there. And then the paid content, Evolitude, French content providers that also have specialized in management with a full library in English as well. Good Habits. I know I've seen someone with popcorn somewhere. All right, they're over there. Really cool. And then HRCP, who is a more local content provider that we found with very specific niche courses. So curation is not just on the free content, it's also about finding more local content providers who do not have a library of 1,000 courses, maybe 20, 25, 30, whatever, but that are extremely good value. Then we had to give them a framework and a methodology for the project, because their project team, like I said, were a team of 3 or 4 people. So they were not experts in creating e-learnings or creating learning journeys. So we also gave them a framework they could use internally, simply with, designing some, it's not sexy, I know, but with some Excel sheets and stuff like that, they could simply fill in what had to be filled in, not to forget anything in the future, because we helped them build 3 learning paths. And since no, they're in full launch, but they've been able to continue the project without the help of myskillcamp's learning science team. And course creation, we help them within our platform to basically design and implement the courses they built. So they had some content as well. They had some videos, some quizzes, etc. We helped them rebuild it within our authoring tool. What happened then on the learner side, that's what I really highly recommend if you want to align everybody. When I say everybody, it depends how many people are going to follow the course. But here about 150 followed the first cohort, the first session. So we did a kickoff just to align on the goals so that everybody understood how does the platform work as well, even though it has to be intuitive, but hey, we need to think for everybody. Then there was obviously progression, a follow-up in the platform. Learners would see where they are. They were able to interact with others. Social learning is something that is high at the moment. But then the trainer or the coach would also be able to follow their coachee. And then learner feedback, in order to reiterate, improve the learning journey, find new resources and stuff, we did ask them for feedback, especially those who didn't have a mature, didn't have a digital maturity high enough. So that was on, I would say, more on the consulting part, so more on the service side. But then how it turned out into the platform was through, like I said, three tools. So at the beginning of the journey, learners had to all go through what we call an assessment. So the assessment was used to show the learner what's their skills gap, what do they need to do in order to achieve and bridge that gap. That gives a sense of purpose to the workforce, but it also gave a great insight to Randstad's clients to, okay, but understanding my workforce and what's the average master skill on, I don't know, a skill set, how to become a better leader, was extremely, extremely important. So my current skills, the theoretical skill. So yeah, until I prove that I've transferred that knowledge, it's still theoretical. And then the expected skill. So also seeing what's expected from me and where do I start was super important. Then we proposed, not in the first iteration of the learning journey, but right now Randstad has been launching a new feature that we released, adaptive learning. So based on the assessment, myskillcamp will scan all the resources that Randstad has developed, for example, on the leadership program, and we will only recommend the resources that will, yeah, I would say reduce that skills gap that we have seen right here. So again, learners, they don't have something linear, they have something that's individual, that adapts to them. That's also how we know which face-to-face or live event they need to attend. It's based on their skills assessment. And finally, it also gives insight, not to us anymore, but to the content creation team, because, or I would say AI-powered adaptive learning experience knows which resources they need, well, it needs to propose, and which resources will not fit in the learning journey. So as a content creator, I can see those two resources, they have been suggested 10 times and nobody followed them. So it also gives feedback on, okay, but is that content really relevant or do I need to change it? And then the last step to the journey was through a mobile app to work on knowledge retention. So knowledge retention, but also knowledge transfer. So we did it through a mobile app, through ours. And what it does is it sends questions to the learner. The learner then is correct or is wrong. If he's correct, or she, then the review will be, let's say, in 5 days. If the learner is wrong, the review will be tomorrow. Because we obviously know that after following a training, the curve will go down, you will forget if you don't practice. Whereas here, we invite the learner to, stay up to date, to validate the skills, and to make sure that they transfer the knowledge that they have been learning so far. Again, very sorry for all the confusion here on the technical side. Do you have any questions regarding curation, regarding, I don't know, adaptive learning, knowledge retention? Everything is going well for all of you guys then. Perfect. All right, well, thanks for listening and have a great afternoon.